So right now, I know everything is going up in price, right? If we were to look at things like our roti canai, maybe 5 years ago, before the pandemic, we could see that roti canai prices could be below 1 ringgit, right? Maybe 60 to 70 cents, right? That being said, however, post the pandemic, right now after the inflation and whatnot, we can see that roti canai prices has went up quite significantly. Right now, impossible to get any roti canai below 1 ringgit, right? It's between 150 to 2 ringgit in certain areas. Aside from that, if we were to look at nasi lemak prices, also we can see that it's getting more and more expensive. In fact, if we 5 ringgit won't get you that much, right? Probably get a bit of nasi, a bit of ikan bilis, a bit of kacang, and maybe a very small piece of chicken, right? So, needless to say, prices of everything is going up. So, I think the impact of this is that our cost of living is also getting more and more expensive. And if our cost of living is getting more and more expensive, how are we going to save money over here in Malaysia? So, this particular episode, I'm going to talk a little bit about how to save as a beginner in Malaysia. So, I'm going to share with you my experience on how I started saving, and hopefully, you can learn a couple of things from this particular episode, right? So, basically, right now we can see that it's getting more and more popular, right? The 50, 30, 20 budgeting method, whereby 50% of our monthly salary, right? So, assuming if we get 2,000 ringgit, 50% is that wise to be kept as our, or 50% is should be allocated for our needs, right? So needs would be expenses like our house rental, our grocery bills, for us to survive as human beings, right? Our clothes, those would be considered as needs, and also our transport between our house to the office, right? And I think more and more we can see that even the internet is getting is something that a lot of us need in the modern society, right? So that's the first thing, 50%, right? So 50% out of 2,000 will be 1,000 ringgit, right? Should be allocated for our needs. The second category would be our wants, which will be 30%. So 30% of 2,000 ringgit will be 600 ringgit. And this would be and this would be for our wants, and among the expenses for that would be things like having fun lah, basically, going for a cinema, or going for vacation, or going for a nice dinner, those are, as human beings, like, sometimes we need to blow out some steam also, right? So if we have a very tiring week over in work, of course we need to go out, of course we need to go hang out with friends and whatnot, or go out for a nice dinner, right? So these are nice to have, but we don't really need it to survive lah, as human beings, right? So that is the second category, which is wants, right? And like I said, amongst the things that will fall in this bucket would be things like our going for vacation, going for buying a nice shirt, or maybe also going for a nice dinner, right? That's the second bucket. And the third bucket, right, would be 20% for our savings, right? And over here, out of 2,000 ringgit, 20% of 2,000 ringgit will be 400 ringgit. This will be for our savings, right? So I know right now, some of you will be thinking to yourself, 20% of my overall salary, that seems quite impossible, right? In fact, when I was talking to people, when I was doing my road shows, talking about financial literacy and whatnot, 9 out of 10 people find it so difficult to save 20% of their monthly salary for rainy day. They'll be like, hey, it's impossible, right? Everything right now is getting more and more expensive. In fact, even nasi campur, right? Back in the days, early 2000s, nasi campur, you go to a warung, it's between 2 to 5 ringgit. Right now, it's between 10 to 15 ringgit. oh, it's mind blowing way. And it almost went up by maybe 5x if you think about it, right? So things are getting so expensive. And a lot of these guys said, it's so impossible. So this is my take on it, right? These are two little tips I have for today, right? And I hope that after listening to this webinar, you can actually take it and use it for your benefit, lah, right? So tip number one is this, right? Make it simple. Make the first step very, very simple, right? So what I would highly suggest is to have a small little container, right? And every day, just put aside at least 5 ringgit in that small little container, right? Just put aside 5 ringgit. And what will happen is that if you have the habit of menabung, or if you have the habit of saving, this will help you build muscles. And when you build muscles, you get better and better in saving, right? So, like I said, have a small little container. Every day when you wake up, just put 5 ringgit inside. 30 days, it will become 150 ringgit. And and in 1 year, it's going to be a lot more than that, lah, basically, right? So that's my first thing, If you find it so difficult, break it down, make it simple, right? And what I would suggest is, just put aside whatever you can put, right? In your savings, right? And another tip lah, right? Don't, after you save the money, right? Don't like say, hey, I already got maybe 400 ringgit. Hey, why don't I just buy a smartphone, or why don't I just buy something, right? Don't after you save money, right? You just want to spend the money, right? Always remember that whatever you save, right? Or what I did was I keep reminding myself, whatever I save, this is money that will buy me financial freedom, right? This will be money that will help you escape the rat race. So always keep that in mind, right? Okay, so right now that's tip number one. Keep it simple, keep it small, right? And make sure that you make it a small little habit. And I think I got a chart to illustrate this, right? So let me just flip the screen over here. So I have this particular slide, right? So have a tabung or have a small little container. This will enable you to keep money. And please continue keeping money, right? And never take out from that particular tabung or piggy bank, right? And do it every day, right? Do it every day. Build a muscle, before going to the office. Make sure that you save at least 5 ringgit, right? And like I said, small and simple, right? Always start, if you want to start a new habit, start it small and simple, right? And the final thing is to invest that money, right? At the end of the month, invest that particular money. So over here is a particular chart. This is a simple compounding calculator, right? If you were to invest the 5 ringgit that you keep aside every day, right? And if you do it for 30 years, right? The amount that you save, right? Just by changing one habit, you will save about 296K. Let that fact blow your mind. Let that fact blow your mind. Let me just put it on my holder. So only by changing one habit, right, you can actually accumulate close to 300K, more specifically 296K, right? Just by putting 5 ringgit aside, investing it. And this is an asset which pays about 10% returns, right? 10% returns. And that's how much you get, 300,000. That's how amazing habits and compounding interest will get you, right? So always remember that habits, compounding interest, if you keep money aside, if you let the money work for you, right, every month, right, you will see it eventually compounding to more and more. Okay, this is my first tip. The second tip, which is even more important, right, is this, right? Honestly, when I first started working, I found it very difficult to save, right? I felt it was so impossible. Back then, my salary was about very low lah, 1,500 lah, right? Salary was quite low. And honestly, I met some people lah, they are out of Kuala Lumpur, first time in the city, right? So they are buying themselves a car, they are also doing rental, they rent a property. And then after that, working as an auditor, we used to work very late nights, right? And What it was is like sometimes we would be maybe we will work up to 10 or 11 o'clock. So we couldn't cook. We could not cook. We were just so tired, right? So this is where we had to buy our food outside, right? And honestly, back then, right? With a salary of 1,500 after you pay rental, after you pay for your loans, for your car loans, and after going out for dinner, honestly, not much to keep. Seriously, not much to keep, right? So what I did in order for me to start my journey towards financial freedom, just to, if this is your first time actually coming into this life, I actually told myself I wanted to get financial freedom back when I was about 24, 25, 26, around that age. And I retired by about mid 30s, right? Mid 30s, right? I think within 10 or 15 years, I managed to retire. So which is unheard of. People when they hear this, like, what, you retired at that age, right? So I retired for 2 years, basically, right? Anyway, that's so I'm just going to teach you guys how I did it, right? So basically, right, I what happened was I actually was working as an auditor, as I said, right? And there's this thing called peak and off peak, right? So peak period is when you're very busy. You work up till maybe 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, right? And this will go on for months, 3 or 4 or 5 months. So at that point in time, my first job, so I didn't know better, right? So I said, oh, is this really the working environment? So there was this one day I still remembered, right? I was going to the office, I worked as usual up to 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, went back home, grumbled a bit, like, alamak, how is this? And as I was going to the office, I passed by a mosque, right? Or masjid, right? And I saw people coming out from the prayers, and I was wondering, say, hey, what day is this? As I got to the office, it hit me that was Hari Raya, right? And I was working during during a time when people should get together with your family. I was working. And at that point in time, I was so angry. I was angry for a couple of reasons. I was angry for, number one, I felt so helpless. I asked myself, is this the rat race, right? Will this continue forever? Or that's my first question. And the second question is, I was annoyed lah. Why am I not saving? Why am I not buying my financial freedom? That day onwards, when I made a decision that I wanted financial freedom and it was important for me, that was the day I could start saving. Let me repeat this again. This is very important. You need to have a strong why behind your actions. If you have a strong why, it's easy for you to take action. Honestly, right now we live in an age of so much of information. We are drowning in all this information. You can go to Google, you can go to YouTube, you can go to. But honestly, this is a paradox, lah, right? With all that information, why isn't that many people rich? Why isn't that many people retired? Why isn't that many people out of debt? Right? I mean, it's a question we should ask, right? And the whole thing of it all is, I work as an analyst before, right? And sometimes I feel that sometimes when we have too much of information, it's hard for us to act on it, right? And another thing is, information is not enough. I think what goes beyond the information is your reasons towards taking action. Only when you have a strong reason, right? Even if you're ready or not ready or whatever it is, right? We will do whatever it takes for us to achieve that particular goal. So for me, after that day when I had to work during Hari Raya lah, right? I told myself, no more. And I started my tabong lah, or I started my little piggy bank for me to start retiring. And this was where I started saving a bit of money lah, right? Towards my financial freedom. And I started also investing, right? And that's one of the reasons why I actually joined this particular industry, which is investment banking. I was working for the investment banks or the finance industry for, I think, close to 15 to 20 years lah, basically, right? And right now, after going through the pandemic, I noticed a lot of people, honestly, financial literacy is not taught in school, right? And I noticed that a lot of Malaysians, right, at one time at one time I think a lot of us during the 80s and 90s, right, my aunties and uncles, they were, happier times are, they had more than extra money and whatnot. And if they had made better decisions back then, their life would be very different right now, right? So it's a accumulation, as I mentioned to you, small little habits, compounding interest, right? If you accumulate good habits and you compound it, this would give you good results, right? On the other flip side, if you make bad decisions and you go into credit cards, right? And if you continue increasing your credit cards, and if that were to compound, basically what will happen is that interest is actually working against you. And it's a recipe towards getting into poverty, lah, basically, right? So I hope that you guys learned something from this particular webinar, right? Do type any questions if you guys have any questions. I don't know how do I look at questions. But moving forward, I'm gonna make it better lah. Have a schedule, blast it out and whatnot, right? And then after that, I'll hope to see you guys in the upcoming lives, right? So it's only going to improve from here on. And the upcoming lives, I'm going to talk more and more about financial literacy. I'm going to talk as though as we are all beginners, right? I'm going to teach everyone that comes into the live or comes into the recorded session, right? How to get, how to invest and also how to save, right? And if you guys have any questions, please put it down in the comment section. With that, guys, take care, and I hope to see you guys in the upcoming episodes. Before we end, I just want to see any comments. None. Right. All right. Take care. And those of you that came in the live, please give me a thumbs up, right? And hope to see you guys very, very soon. Thanks for coming in. Take care. Bye.